Hello and welcome back to another episode of Professor Natalie Games. I'm Dr. Natalie Van Dusen, a professor at the University of Alberta, and I am here reacting to God of War Ragnarok with gameplay by the wonderful Cleansed in Fire. Thank you so much also for your birthday wishes for both him and for me. We're almost birthday buddies, and it turns out a lot of you also have birthdays right around the same time. So that was awesome. So where we had left off, we had just encountered Surtr and we had created Ragnarok, who is now ready for summoning when we blow Gjallarhorn. And all of this, once again, very much in line with the mythology. When Heimdall, who is of course now dead, and that's totally fine because he's quite frankly a total in this game. He is the one to sound Gjallarhorn at Ragnarok. That's going to be one of the things that signals that Ragnarok is imminent and that the giants are, in fact, approaching and are about to breach Asgard, including Surtr, who is going to basically devour the Rainbow Bridge, Bifrost, and then do a battle against Freyr. So we'll see how that ends up in this rendering of the mythology. So yeah, we have fulfilled the quest that Atreus, Kratos, and Mimir's head had set out to do, which was to go and get this fire giant Surtr. So let's see what happens next.
It worked. I can't believe it. We've got Ragnarok on our side. Surtr's plan just worked. I mean, the Valkyries were a small setback, but I bet we've got Odin worried now. He knows we're coming for him. Think about it. We're gonna show up to Asgard, and Ragnarok's gonna come in and wreck everything. Odin won't stand a chance. We're gonna win. Gro was right.
Groa failed to predict what we would sacrifice in return.
Maybe she could only see the big stuff. This is gonna work, right?
It must.
Whoa!
Ragnarok's strength grows.
Hey, check out that cliff. The earthquake must have shook this place up enough to make a ledge.
More of Odin's forces! There will be more.
We gotta get out of here. So, you fought in a lot of wars, right? You've never had anything like Ragnarok on your side?
I have. And the creature does not guarantee our victory.
Right. You're quiet. I mean, you're always quiet, but this feels different.
I had hoped my days of ceaseless battles were over. I had hoped to never see my son go to war.
Man, these guys don't give up.
Ragnarok is here. They know what that means for Asgard.
We need to leave before anything else shows up. The gate is just through this crack in the rocks when you're ready. Father, I know we're doing the right thing. Ragnarok has to happen.
The price we and others paid for this war is high. It will only get higher.
It'll be worth it.
Brothers, how did it go? And yes, my usefulness to a certain Vanir numpty did run out.
Ragnarok awaits our call.
As do the armies of hell. Thanks mostly to me. It seems war is upon us at last.
Okay, I love that they just set him there. He was just waiting on this pile of rocks, which I have been meaning to mention this. But the stack of rocks reminds me a lot of what you would see in Iceland if you are just kind of driving around outside of a city. It's very common for people to stack rocks in this particular way. Lava rocks, of course, they're all lava rocks. And you'll see formations in this way that are human made. And I can't help but wonder and assume that this must be kind of in reference to that. Also, as someone who has played, and I am not exaggerating, probably 1,500 hours of Zelda between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom alone. This is really reminding me of Elden. Even when the creatures are skittering across, I keep thinking that that's a fireproof lizard I have to get for my tonic. Forgive me there. Again, sorry to Sony and to Santa Monica Studio. I grew up very much a Nintendo girl, though I do now own a PlayStation 5, and I own copies of both God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok. So I am trying to expand my repertoire a little bit because these games are just so good.
Where to now, brother? We've some time before we're expected at the temple.
This could be our last chance, Father. Is there anything you want to finish up?
Mummy and Daddy tied the noose tight to send us to Odin to bask in his light.
Did they just say what I think they said?
Yes.
Get away from my children. Have you any idea how long it took to shape their spirits into something useful? Have you any idea of the effort the focus? Were it not for me, these misbegotten urchins would have perished in the winds of Fimbulwinter. But instead, they became something greater, something magnificent. They mattered to the All-Father, and they mattered to me!
Enough!
Well done, brother. Clearly the ravens, the children, appreciated it as well.
Is there nothing to be done for them?
Could someone bring their souls back, maybe? There was a way to do that?
I'm afraid not. Their souls would have to be intact in their original forms, not perverted.
Oh. But we still did something good, right?
Yes. Yes, we did.
Very interesting. Okay. And so here it mentions Seidr. So Seidr is a particular kind of divination ritual that Odin is said to have learned from Freya when the Vanir joined in with the Aesir after the Aesir-Vanir War. And it's interesting that Odin is a figure who would engage in this ritual because it's said to be something that is associated with effeminacy, and in the Viking Age, for any man to display any signs of being anything less than like hypermasculine really opened him up to all kinds of insults that implied inability to maintain family honor and being kind of a general disgrace to his entire family, past, present, and future. But Odin does engage in Seidr ritual. And so this is really cool that I see it mentioned here. The Raven Keeper, as far as I know, there isn't a figure of this kind in the mythology. I could be wrong, though. There could be a mentioning that just isn't coming to mind. But what it actually did remind me of is the hag from later Scandinavian folklore that was used in reference to the Black Death. And that is because she's often portrayed with either a broom or a rake. And in folklore, when she is depicted with a rake, that means she's only going to sweep through and collect some of the souls from that particular, say, town that the plague is ravaging through. Whereas if she has a broom, it's going to claim everybody. I wonder if this is something that was taken from that kind of later folklore, but could be a complete coincidence. In any case, it's what it reminds me of.
Well, this is it then. Beginning of the end.
The end for Odin. And after that, a new beginning for the rest of us.
Atreus.
I know. I'm just looking forward to seeing all the realms finally standing up to him. Elves and dwarves and hell itself.
You are so certain they will unite.
They have to. After everything they've been through. They have to. Don't they? Anything in Midgard you want to do? You know, while we still can.
Freya and the others are still making preparations for the attack, so there's time.
Father, I'm worried about Thor.
Why?
Last time you fought, couldn't beat him. What happens when we meet him again? What'll be different from last time?
Last time, you were not with me.
Wow. Thanks. Okay. Ready when you are. All the armies are probably gathered in their home realms, waiting for when we blow Gallarhorn. Guess I was kind of hoping to see some of them here.
When all the realm towers open at once, we'll see plenty, lad. Odin won't believe what's coming for him.
No. Odin had lifetimes to prepare for this. Whatever Groa's deception, he heard the truth as Tyr. Do not underestimate him.
Rousing speech, brother. Very inspirational.
Wow. The Valkyries look different.
Welcome back. Hildisvini informed me of your success. We've been planning accordingly.
Well, what would Ragnarok be without Ragnarok?
Who else agreed to join us? I see the Valkyries.
Better than that. They are reborn. Corporeal and uncorrupted, thanks to no small amount of Vanir magic. They're shield maidens now.
Nice.
And your brother?
He came through. The elves called a truce to unite against Asgard. That gives us an advantage by air. And with Hel's army for a vanguard.
What about Sindri? Will the dwarves fight?
We haven't heard from him. But there's time yet. And I think we have what we need to clear a path for the Ragnarok beast.
Well, when you say it like that, why worry at all? Sigrun! It's good to see you so... alive.
Oh, yes. I wasn't myself when last we met. I'm glad you're safe. My queen, the shield maidens will be divided among the forces breaching from Alfheim, Helheim, and here in Midgard. We stand ready. Kratos, Atreus, Mimir, please excuse me.
Oh. Good night, then.
Freya, have you determined our path out of Asgard?
If the towers are the way in, we count on them being the way out.
And if they are not?
Then we all know what we signed up for. Our plan is only missing one thing. A leader.
That honor is yours. You have a righteous claim, and the respect of your troops. And you have faced this enemy before.
I held his invading army to a stalemate. This is our invasion, a siege on his terrain. I want our most experienced wartime general in the field. I don't care about the honors, I don't care about the prophecies and champions. I just need us to win.
Freya.
I know what I'm asking. Just... sleep on it? Here we are. Kratos, your tent is to the right, and Atreus, yours is to the left.
Mine?
A young warrior needs his own space, don't you think?
I do. Wow. Thanks.
Sleep on what we spoke of. Let me know in the morning what you decide.
So I know I mentioned this when we first encountered her, but Sigrun is a name of a Valkyrie who appears in a poem called The Lay of Helgi Hundingsbani, which is kind of at the start of the kind of heroic cycle of poetry in the Poetic Edda. And she's a Valkyrie who falls in love with a warrior, and there's, depending on the version of the poem that you're looking at, there's either a happy ending or there's a really tragic ending. And shield maidens. So I think that shield maidens are probably one of the bigger misconceptions with regard to women's roles in kind of historical Viking Age Scandinavia. There isn't a lot to indicate that if women did in fact fight, that it was anything that was regular. In fact, there's a lot of evidence to the contrary that suggests that if women did fight on the battlefield, it would be an exception to a pretty hard and fast rule. But there is quite a lot about women who are warriors that's written about in a genre of sagas called the Fornaldarsögur, or the legendary sagas, which have been sort of described as the medieval Icelanders' versions of fantasy literature. And this is where you get these women who in many ways are kind of the descendants of Valkyries. In many cases, they're noble women who decide for a time to bear arms, to fight in the battlefield, and to in every way pretty much act as men. Oftentimes they are maiden kings. They will rule their kingdoms in their father's stead. But what's always interesting to me, and I think important to note about these stories, and that has been noted by scholars such as Johanna Katrin Friedrichsdottir, who has written the wonderful book Valkyrie. If you're interested in all and learning more about women in the Viking Age and in saga literature, I highly recommend this book. And what Johanna tells us is that women are really only allowed to fulfill this role within this genre of literature. And even in this genre of literature, which is once again kind of like fantasy literature for them, it is only a role that women can fulfill temporarily. And at the end of any given saga narrative, any given poem that has to do with a shield maiden or a maiden king character, the woman has to eventually get married. She's eventually subdued by a powerful male character. And despite any attempts to resist, she ultimately, in the end, marries him and then has to hand over her rule to him. So even in this kind of fantasy realm in which it's allowed for women to fight, to bear arms, to rule kingdoms, it's always something that can only be temporary, and only something that they can do as long as they kind of re-enter the status quo and fulfill their kind of more traditionally feminine roles at the end of the story. And if they don't, this is met with really devastating and often very violent consequences for the women in question.
Hildy, come join us. Have a seat.
I miss anything?
I was just telling him about the time I asked you to play damsel in distress. Okay, then when she had them distracted, I jumped in, heroic, and together we took them all down. There must have been 100. I don't know, maybe more.
Spare us your gloating.
Does it really bother you that some of my ideas actually work?
No, but I do envy you.
In what realm? Spare me the patronizing.
I've calculated every risk I've ever taken, tried to mitigate all the ways it could go wrong, and still, it all falls apart. You just throw yourself into situations in harm's way, and somehow it always works out for you. You always end up all right with that stupid grin.
I'd argue my trip to Asgard didn't go quite so well.
Yes, there are some lessons to be learned by planning, and others by learning to adapt. That's why you two were such a great team.
I'd argue it's because we had such a lousy old man.
Son, it's true Njord was not much of a father, but he's the reason we were able to be a family.
Yeah, funny you should be so hard on him, Freya, since you inherited his wanderlust, especially in times of importance.
That's not true. I had good reason for leaving those times. Tell her.
I have missed this.
Okay, do Hildisvini and Freya have a thing in this game? Because, like I mentioned, I think a few videos ago, when we first encountered him in his human form, it's highly suggested that he is both Freya's lover and her protege in the mythology. So is it in any way implied here that they have a thing, or are they just sort of simply, old family friends? So I'm just curious.
Are you nervous, love? I'm nervous. What if they don't accept us? What if they don't follow us into battle? I mean, in their eyes, we're an abomination.
And how is that our problem and not theirs? The Uniter has spoken. That should be enough. They will follow.
And if it's not enough?
Then I will make them.
That sounds like the elf I fell in love with.
You're shivering.
I'm cold.
We can leave for Alfheim now, if you want.
No. No, I'd like to stay here for as long as we can.
Excuse me. May I have a moment with Mimir? I don't know what tomorrow brings, but if tonight is our last night, I'd like to spend it feeling something besides hate. Will you tell me one last silly story?
There's nothing I'd like more. Except perhaps a dance. Though I may have lost a step. Due respect, love, I don't tell silly stories.
You only tell silly stories.
I can never argue with you.
That's sweet.
Can I sleep here tonight?
You must quiet your mind.
I can't.
Then I will tell you a story.
If I fall asleep, promise you'll finish it tomorrow?
Of course. Now, close your eyes. There was an old man who chopped wood for his village. Every evening he bore the logs on his back and delivered them to his people. But the logs were heavy, and he grew weaker as time went. And one day, he threw down the logs as he could no longer bear their weight. And he called for death to come to him. And when death arrived,
He's the only one who ever got my highbrow sense of humor. Damn fine woman she was. Apart from her taste in men, of course.
She was a special woman. She wanted to protect people.
She was here. She saw every step we took before we took it. Like she was always with us. Watching over us. Leading us home.
Does my request upset you? Death is a natural part of life, my love. I wish only to be prepared for when my time comes. We mortals must do such things. I am glad to have you prepare with me. You're quiet.
I have nothing to say.
Well, say something. I enjoy hearing your voice.
A funeral pyre. I would have chosen different.
Oh?
In my land, we entomb our loved ones.
You would have me trapped in the ground for eternity.
I would have you close to me.
How touching. My rotting corpse would bring you such comfort. You once tried to take charge of your ending, did you not?
That was different.
Circumstance, yes. But not on purpose.
You prepare for a distant future. There is much time ahead of us.
I wish to better a future that will exist without me, whenever that day comes. For you, and for our son. We will always walk together, Kratos. You will always be a part of me. I will always be a part of you.
And when you are gone, that part of me dies as well. Faye, you feel your absence.
Culmination of love is grief. And yet we love, despite the inevitable. We open our hearts to it. When the pyre is spent, and you have gathered my ashes, spread them from the highest peak in all the realms. You will do this for me. To grieve deeply is to have loved fully. Open your heart to the world as you have opened it to me, and you will find every reason to keep living in it.
What's going on?
It is time.
I'll meet you outside, Father. Sir.
We'd hoped to fly into battle with you one more time, my queen.
Me too. But not as your queen. As sisters. Are you ready?
Yes. I will be your general.
It will be an honor to fight alongside you, General.
Aye, brother. I'll be right by your side. So, what are your orders?
To the temple.
Okay, so you know I love a good dream sequence. I love getting these kind of little bits of backstory in terms of the relationship between Kratos and Faye, and where you see how she's beginning to kind of open him up and get him to sort of soften, I guess, a little bit. And she's sort of coaching him on how to feel. And you see how her lessons have sort of continued and how he has continued to evolve in his relationship then with Atreus. These things all are sort of being seeds that are being planted by her and then taking root. And it's kind of cool to have seen that now, having seen the journey and to have seen the transformation that he's made as a person. I thought that was a really sweet and relatable moment. That sort of bedtime ritual there of a child coming into your room saying, "Can I sleep here tonight? I can't go to bed. I can't settle down. Tell me a story." I thought that was a really relatable moment as well. I think that I enjoy those moments almost as much as I do those that derive from the mythology and from the sagas and from the legendary material. We are almost there. We are almost to the final battle, and I only have a few videos left before I get to Valhalla DLC. So we will continue on. And if you have any questions at all, if there's anything I can clarify, if there's anything you would like me to keep an eye out for, if you can let me know in a way that doesn't give anything away, that would be great. It's been wonderful to be able to have the opportunity to watch this amazing retelling of the mythology in the form of this game, and I cannot wait to see how it ends. So I am both sad and excited, but I know that this is not the end and that I will get the DLC and that I will get to continue on doing other games with you, and I will have future God of War games hopefully to look forward to. So with that, I will say goodbye and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.